I'm going to give you a principle which will substantially help you attain your personal and business goals, and perhaps even more important, will result in your achieving a peace of mind you may never have experienced before. And since it's the kind of principle it is, it would be well to get the whole family together for this one, particularly the children. Again, it seems that at least 95% of the people, maybe more, don't know about this, at least not fully. So the person who does know has an enormous advantage. The seed for achievement is truth. Not necessarily the kind of truth we hear so much about, although that's important, but the kind of truth you don't hear much about, particularly these days. Truth means honesty. And the way in which I want to describe this kind of truth was perhaps best put by Shakespeare, when in Hamlet he has Polonius say, "And this above all, to thine own self be true. And it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man." The kind of truth I want to talk to you about is inner truth, truth to yourself. You know, we hear a lot these days about the conquest of outer space, and that's fine. But as a radio listener wrote to me one day, there is little we cannot accomplish as individuals if we can manage the conquest of inner space. Being truthful with ourselves means the responsibility of making the best use of what we have. And what do we have? We have our minds, our abilities, our unique and individual talents, and time. These are our possessions. This is really an enormous amount of wealth that each of us has, and it's the investment of our wealth which will determine our rate of return. And as with the ownership of wealth of any kind, it's left to us as individuals to decide what use we will make of it. We can squander it until it's all gone. We can spend it in a helter-skelter, hit-or-miss fashion without much purpose or meaning. Or we can invest it with intelligence and purpose and receive an abundant return. A return which will more than provide for ourselves and our loved ones all the years of our lives. The choice is ours, and it's here that personal honesty and integrity come into the picture. Now, for a moment, let's remind ourselves again of the great law behind everything in the universe, the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there will be an equal effect. If we make good use of our minds, abilities, and talents, this will become apparent in our outer lives. If we make the best use of our time, this too will give us a great advantage, because certainly we know that scarcely 5, perhaps only 1 or 2 people in 100 really put their time to anywhere near its potential good use. In short, making the best use of what we have in the time we're given to use it. Sound simple? Truth is always simple and uncomplicated. And here again, we're placing ourselves above competition by doing what the majority do not do. We're understanding something the great majority of people do not know. This is using truth so that it will put more money in our pockets, better clothes on the children, a nicer home in which to live, and with it all, gaining a new and lasting peace of mind. It's knowing where to put our investment to obtain the largest and most satisfactory return. Here's the foundation upon which every great career has been built. Truth and honesty are the words for success. Let's look at some facts. Success has nothing to do with the size of the brain. The largest brain on record is the brain of an idiot. The smallest, the brain of Anatole France, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1921. Some of the world's greatest people in every field are, or were, short, bald, and fat. Some tall and skinny. Most are, or were, of quite average appearance. Many suffered from physical handicaps. Some were brilliant and well-educated. Some had little or no formal schooling. So the person destined for greatness cannot always be spotted on the street, nor does he always get the vote of his high school graduating class as the one most likely to succeed. But they all have one thing in common. They all understand, consciously or unconsciously, the law of cause and effect. They wisely work with it instead of trying to work against it. Trying to operate contrary to this law, this great truth, is like trying to knock down the Empire State Building with a feather, or climb Mount Everest on a unicycle, or empty the Pacific Ocean with a teaspoon. It just can't be done, and that's that. Now, although most people will give lip service to honesty, they're really not at all sure about it. With the great majority, it's a matter of expediency. If it's expedient to be honest, fine, they're honest. If it's more expedient to realize a quick profit in some way by shading it a bit, Well, they'll shade it a bit. But why? Because they live on a short-term basis. They don't see living as a long-term arrangement. They forget or don't know about the boomerang. Every time a person does something dishonest, whether it's small or large, whether it's stealing a pair of pliers from the plant or embezzling $10,000, whether it's selling himself short by not making full use of his time, talents, and abilities, he is throwing the boomerang. How far it will travel, no one knows. How great or slow a circle it will traverse, only time will tell. But it will eventually, it must finally, come around behind him, swift and unseen, to deliver its never-failing and painful blow. Yes, honesty is good business. In fact, Mirabeau wrote, "If honesty did not exist, we ought to invent it as the best means of getting rich." It is the only way on earth to real and lasting success of any kind. Either we're convinced of this with every fiber of our being, totally, completely, or we aren't. If we don't know by the time we're adults, we deserve every knock we get. In fact, if we didn't deserve them, we wouldn't get them. All we have to do under every circumstance is ask ourselves, is this true? Is this honest? And then go ahead with the happy realization that we've taken care of the cause and that the effect will take care of itself. The average person in our society is paid for about 40 hours of productive time a week, although I have personally never heard of anyone gaining outstanding success on a 40-hour week. This leaves him with 128 hours a week to do with as he pleases. Never before in the history of man have we had so much free time. By giving everything he has, as much of his mind, talents, and abilities to at least these 40 hours, a person can make a really worthwhile and substantial contribution to his company, and as a result, to himself, his family, and to the nation and the free world. He will be building the security which lasts a lifetime, and he will reap a rich and abundant reward. He'll know a wonderful feeling of worth, of value, and the peace of mind this inevitably brings. This is the way to really live. Our greatest enemy has never changed, and his name is ignorance. And the greatest ignorance of all is the mistaken belief that we can ever receive more than we're earning. Sooner or later, there will be an accounting. We're throwing the boomerang. The wonderful thing about this law, cause and effect, the boomerang, is that it's just as unfailing when we operate on the right side of it. Just as it can never fail to punish us when we're dishonest, with others or with ourselves, it will heap upon us the abundance we seek, the good life, if we'll play fair with it. There's no time limit on this. It's almost never too late. For just as the punishment always seems to be greater than the crime, the rewards always seem to be out of all proportion to our proper acts. So let's summarize. What do we mean by putting truth to work for us? It means the willingness to perform at our best during the time we should be performing at our best. This gives comfort and a feeling of well-being to our leisure time. Our rest has been earned. We know we'll move ahead in our company and industry because we'll simply be too remarkable, too unusual and outstanding as individuals to go unnoticed for very long. This is as it should be, for there has never been a time when the outstanding individual was more sorely needed. It means the willingness to keep an open mind, to look for truth all the days of our lives, and be ready to toss our most cherished beliefs into the ash can if we can be shown something that comes closer to the truth. It's knowing that there's always a better way, and a better way than that, and so on, and to look for these better ways of conducting our affairs both on and off the job. It's the willingness to learn everything we can about our work, our company, our industry. It's realizing that a man who does not read is no better than one who cannot, and that a man who does not continue to learn and grow as a person is no better than one who cannot. And it's understanding that truth must walk with us every day of our lives if we're to reap the abundant harvest. As we said before, the greatest joy a human being can know is the joy of accomplishment. Think how really great this joy becomes when we're making full use of our minds, our talents, and our abilities. Think again of your life as a plot of ground to be seeded. It can only return to you what you first give to it. And what do you have to give? You have more than enough. You have a human mind, the greatest single agency ever to appear on earth. You have far more abilities than you've ever used, and far more talent than you probably imagine. And you have time. The one thing which is completely beyond the control of man. Time, which cannot be saved, stopped, nor held back for even an instant. Make use of these riches to the fullest while you have them, Why wait to say, I wish I could do it all over again? Why not do it right the first time? For there may be no second chance. Using truth as the guide, your plot of ground will return to you and yours an abundance that will amaze and delight you. There may be bad days, days when you feel uneasy, worried, or depressed. They're a part of life. Should they come, let me suggest that you remember a quotation which has helped me. It's by Dean Briggs, and it goes like this: do your work, not just your work and no more, but a little more for the lavishing's sake, that little more which is worth all the rest. And if you suffer as you must, and if you doubt as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the sky will clear. And then out of your very doubt and suffering will be found the supreme joy